Welcome to OBIEE demo session. We are going to talk about OBIEE 12c technology and how we're going to proceed towards the training. I have been serving the IT industry for more than 6 years as a business intelligence developer. I have worked on data warehousing technologies, which include ETL applications, data warehouse, database softwares and tools, and also reporting technologies like OBIEE, SSRS, SQL Server, and ETL tools like Informatica, ODI, OBIEE apps, etc. I have worked intensively on Oracle applications, and currently I'm also working on Microsoft BI technologies. We'll be starting our course with OBIEE architecture, where we're going to talk about the diverse layers that form the scalable and highly classified architecture of OBIEE 12c. OLAP and analytics model is, so basically there is a transactional database OLTP and there is a OLAP database OLAP, where we transform the data to get it into analytics data warehousing, and we get the data in multidimensional analysis and do the structuring of our data in BI applications. So after the architecture, we'll proceed towards how we can do the repository modeling of our data in OLAP and star schemas. And then we will also talk about the backend part of OBIEE, which is the RPD, which forms the various layers and is also the core of the entire data that we actually play around with in the front-end application. We will be also proceeding towards the presentation catalog, which is basically the front end of the application, where users, irrespective of their role in the organization, whether they be from the sales or the HR department or managers or people who may not be technical people at all, are given the access to the reporting application, where they can use a dashboard, create their own reports with ad hoc analysis capabilities. Then we will be proceeding towards OBIEE dashboard creation and deployment, where we will looking at the various features, visualizations, and capabilities of OBIEE that it provides in terms of using the front-end application, where we can see how we can use prompts to filter data for particular users according to their roles, etc. And last but not the least, we'll be covering the OBIEE security, maintenance, and administration part, where we'll be looking towards the enterprise manager, the console, how we can create various users, user groups, or roles as per the application access that we want to give. We will be also looking towards the various servers and the clusters involved, how to go about maintaining them, how to optimize our reports, all the queries that run behind getting the data, how to improve the report performance, or maximize the use of visualizations, or maximize the capabilities that our dashboards can perform in least possible time. Today's agenda, we are going to talk about what exactly is OBIEE, why is this application so much in hype, why is it called as so hot trending technology in the world of BI applications, and of course, what is it that makes BI special and stand apart from other technologies. We will be also talking about the technology market for this entire application, and then we will look towards how does actually OBIEE work, or how organizations or we as individuals can make or leverage the use of OBIEE to make our reports or our analytics stand apart. What exactly is OBIEE? So apart from what is already mentioned on my screen, OBIEE is a very innovative and comprehensive BI platform that offers wide range of analytics options and facilities for users. It has the ability to reduce the redundancy of data, to increase the report delivery and performance timing, to enable users to use hierarchical drilling, or to use graphical reports to be able to visualize the data, different patterns, like in terms of chronographical order, or maybe in terms of geography, or maybe in terms of some KPIs or threshold values, etc. So it has an immense ease to operate and implement, and can make users very comfortable in terms of especially non-technical users who may not even know the underlying huge data queries that are running behind. It will only look like an application that has very interesting GUI interface that the users can make use of to play around with their data and do some great business decision with the help of some very interactive dashboards and reports. Of course, technology in the market. So basically, if we talk about the OBIEE demand in terms of industry or in terms of geography, if you look at my screen, I have two representations here. On the left side, if you see, I have breakdown of OBIEE customers by industry. So if we look at it in detail, we can see that banking and financial services contributes 27.3 in this entire pie chart, which says that OBIEE definitely has the capability to handle very high confidential or high risk or highly changing, or what you call it, rapidly changing data, which tells us that OBIEE in turn has a highly scalable and robust infrastructure. And then if you look at the other parts of the pie chart, we can see that almost every industry out there, including education or hospitality or manufacturing, etc., has contribution in OBIEE. So basically, it is an application that can be used by almost every industry. And then on the right-hand side of my slide, there is a breakdown of OBIEE customers by country. So if we look at it again, the major players in the world, US and UK, which have the most number of IT companies, contribute to a high usage of OBIEE. So not just them, actually, all the other countries apart from UK and US also that have a huge IT infrastructure or IT contribution in terms of the number of IT companies they have in their country, there is definitely a huge chunk that is using OBIEE for their BI applications. I want to talk about the certifications available in OBIEE. So there are a couple of certifications for every version out there. So if we talk about the versioning, OBIEE started from 10G, 11C, and 12G, and there were a lot of versions in between as well. And I personally have worked with 10G version, the 11G version, and now also the 12C version. And every version has created waves. Every version has evolved in terms of the usage facilities that it has given to users. And every version has a certification available. And the Oracle certification is globally recognized in terms of the Oracle brand suite. And it does give you that extra edge over any other profiles that might apply for a job opening out there, or even add to your entire skill set in your resume. Now let's talk about how has OBIEE stood out in an actual environment. So I have a very relatable example. If you must have heard about Norfolk Southern Railway, it's one of the biggest transportation networks across the world. It operates approximately 20,000 route miles every year. And with the old BI tools, the company had only 100 power users who queried the system. It was only years ago that Norfolk Southern decided to switch over or upgrade its BI system to OBIEE. And with that, not only has it been able to upscale its IT as well as BI infrastructure, but it has been able to focus more on customer relationships. It has been able to do much more decision making in less time possible. And not just that, it has more than around 800 users who are able to leverage the use of the application to create their own reports and take real-time decisions, which in fact ultimately helps in more efficient processes and efficiency or the output of the entire company altogether. So this is only one live example, but there are hundreds of examples out there in major industries that have used OBIEE as the reporting environment and have been able to work and progress much more in their decision-making processes. Now let's talk about how an individual or an organization can leverage the use of OBIEE. So the first step is always to collect up-to-date data from the organization. This data can usually and in fact is usually in the form of transactional data. So it could be data that changes every minute. For example, let's say the database of a telecom company or the database of a banking or a financial system where there are transactions happening every minute. Up-to-date data is collected from the organization in transactional processing and is converted into analytical processing, which is the next step. This happens with the use of some ETL tools like Informatica or Oracle Database Integrator or Data Stage, etc. With the help of these ETL tools, the data is transformed into OLAP, where this data is then moved into schemas, which are the star schema or snowflake schema, which we will be covering as part of the training as well. This data is then used as the upper layer to be that can help us build reports and dashboards. When we create reports and dashboards in OBIEE with the help of this star or snowflake schema that we are also able to schedule these reports that can deliver the data in timely fashion to the employees in the organization. So let's say at the end of every Friday, every week, or maybe every fortnightly, if the HR department wants to know all the defaulters in filling their timesheet in the organization, we can actually leverage the use of OBIEE to deliver particular report as per all the employees that come under the particular HR in the team to their inbox at a particular time on that day of the week, every week or every fortnightly. With this, the organization ultimately is able to achieve better decision making and informed actions and are able to manage more and give more time into their business processes rather than handling the data and building reports itself. So this is one example of how organizations can leverage the use of OBIEE, but the life cycle that I talked about is also a typical life cycle that takes place when organizations want to do reporting on transactional data. I have a list of all the OBIEE components. So OBIEE has a very scalable and a very easy to understand infrastructure. In terms of the architecture, there are definitely a lot of servers and a lot of different tools that are running together, but in terms of components, it is very easy to understand. So if we look at the lowermost layer, we have a lot of physical data sources that OBIEE can handle simultaneously. So it has the capability of taking data from disparate data sources, which could be a relational database or a data warehouse or SAP, Oracle, Siebel Labs or flat files or Excel files, or in fact even processes that might be specific to the particular organization, let's say HR business process, etc. So OBIEE has the strength to actually be able to take data from different data sources together. And then we have the middle layer, which is the heart or the core of OBIEE, which is OBI server. So basically, OBI server or BI server, as we usually say, is able to integrate data from disparate data sources and give it to the components on the uppermost layer, and it also has the capability to actually take requirements from the topmost components, convert them into computer understandable or individual components in the lowermost layer, whatever language it may understand. For example, SQL or Excel file, it has the capability to transform your query in that language and bring data back to the uppermost layer. So OBIEE server not only has the capability of bringing data or translating queries, but it is actually, when I say it at the heart of the application, I mean to say that it is the layer which is responsible for handling the caching mechanism, the administration mechanism, or the cluster controllers, or the Java routines, or the plugins that are being used in the entire application. So this is where everything happens, and it's called as BI server. It has a lot of different components individually inside, which we will be covering in the OBIEE architecture part. So now, if I go back to the components on the upper layer, we can see that there are 6 components that can be, OBIEE can be divided into, and these are very high level components. As we go deep down into them, we can see that there are many sub components that form each of this high level component. So let me give you a brief idea of what each component does. So starting with interactive dashboards. Interactive dashboards are nothing but actually a portal-like or a web link kind of part in the OBIEE applications where users from the organization can log into and look at various reports coming together. So for example, if a CEO of the organization wants to look at how the different departments are doing on a particular day, all he has to do is log into the application, and there will be a dashboard that is built only for the CEO and cannot be accessed by any others. And depending on the rules that we have put in the security part, the CEO will be able to log in into the dashboard, and he will be able to see all visualizations in the form of, let's say, how the HR department is doing, how the finance department is doing, what is the revenue, or what is the value of the company today, etc. So not just that, OBIEE dashboards also have an interactive feature, by which I mean that it has the capability to give the user the option of selecting what data he wants to look into. So for example, we can add a prompt on the dashboard for the user to be able to see, say, the data for this quarter or the previous quarter, or both quarters put together. Or the user can also decide if he wants to look at the data in a pie chart or a bar graph. So by interactive dashboards, we can enable users to limit the data that they want to see and also how they want to see it. Now let's go to the next component, which is BI answers. So BI answers is a functionality where individual reports can be made. These can be actually given to the developers of the application, or users can also themselves be trained to be able to do ad hoc analysis where they can themselves go on the application, and depending on the security rules, whatever data is made available to them, or whatever components of the entire presentation catalog or the subject area. For example, if an HR person wants to do reporting, only the HR subject area will be made available to his role, and he can go on the application and maybe build a report on the employees and their managers and the salary for each of them. Depending on what role a user has, with the help of OBIEE answers was actually also called as BI analysis or BI reports. So they are one and the same things, but have been given different names in different versions. So in OBIEE 12c, it's called as analysis, and with the help of analysis, users can build ad hoc reports and also use or combine individual reports and build a dashboard out of them. Now coming to the next component, which is BI Publisher. So Oracle BI Publisher is actually another tool by Oracle which has the capability to present printable reports which are pixel perfect reports and have the same template throughout. So users can define a template and all the reports will be generated in the same format or the same template throughout. These are mostly used for pixel perfect printable ready reporting, and OBIEE has only made integration with this application possible so that users can make use of this application within OBIEE itself, and so that they do not have to necessarily go to BI publishers separately at all. The next component is BI Delivers, which is responsible for active monitoring and scheduling of reports. So let's say that we want our salesperson to be alerted every time the sales or the revenue for a particular product is going above or below a forecasted or a threshold value. So in that case, a dashboard will be generated where alerts can be sent to the salesperson's inbox depending on the data threshold values that have been crossed. And with the help of BI Delivers, we will be able to do the scheduling of the reports or also define particular threshold values and actions that we need to be taken on them whenever the values are crossed. Then the next component is disconnected analytics. Now this is a very interesting feature which has been only introduced with the 12c version. Disconnected analytics is actually the feature where users can leverage the use of this entire application with the help of mobile analytics. So if they are on the go, or let's say if the salesperson is traveling but needs to have access to the report, salesperson may not be necessarily connected to the application, but with the help of disconnected or offline or mobile OBIEE application, he will be able to download generated reports. This is the disconnected analytics. And the last but not the least, in fact, one of the major interesting addition to OBIEE 11g and 12c is MS Office plugin, which makes integration with Microsoft Office applications possible with OBIEE. So with the help of MS Office plugin, we are able to achieve our visualizations like funnel or gauges or our graphs or charts be visible in MS Excel or MS PowerPoint In fact, these can be made as interactive refreshable objects so that whenever we refresh the data in our PowerPoint itself, we don't have to go to the OBIEE application. We can refresh the data in the PowerPoint itself, which makes the scalability of the entire application much more, and it makes it much more practically usable for users who might be more comfortable with Microsoft Office document kind of applications rather than using an entirely different application like OBIEE altogether. So these are the components of OBIEE which makes it so interesting, so versatile, and also enable the users to use in several different ways. Project that we will be working on as part of the training. We will be looking at dummy organizations database, which has database for its customers, for its employees, and sales and order database. We will be starting with creating analytical database for the same, where we will be using a star schema. Where we will be actually working on the repository modeling application of OBIEE, where we get the data from our database and then prepare entire schema that makes it work like star schema, which is the most essential part of using analytical BI applications. We convert the entire database into star schema, where we have facts and dimensions, and which will help us make use of OBIEE in its essential analytical way. And through the OBIEE repository model, we will be then moving from the physical layer to the logical layer, where we will define the logical joins between the facts and dimensions, where we will define the star schema completely, and we will also define complex joins between them, like hierarchies, etc. And then we will be going towards the presentation layer, where we will look at how we want the users to see our data. So where we will define data in terms of subject areas, let's say subject area for finance, a subject area for order data, a subject area for HR data, etc. And then we will be proceeding towards creating application dashboards or reports on the front end of the application, where we will be defining different users as per their roles. We will be also defining the security rules for them. If we want a particular user to be only able to access the reports, or in fact, if we want users to edit the reports, but only through certain visualizations, if we do not want all the visualizations or all the subject areas to be available to a particular team or a user, we will be looking at how that is done. We will also be covering the administration part, like how to use the console or the enterprise manager application of OBIEE, but we will be definitely focusing most towards the development of the application, how we can reduce redundancy of data, and how we can make sure to optimize the reports to make them work faster, how we can make use of hierarchical drilling, or generating reports in a chronological order. For example, let's say if there is a data for the last 10 years, if a user clicks on, let's say, 2015, then all the quarters for only 2015 is visible. And then let's say if the user selects quarter 2, then all the months inside quarter 2 of 2015 is available. And inside all the months, there will be data for, let's say, every week or every day, and so on. So we will be looking at hierarchical drilling. We will be looking at optimizing the data and how the presentation queries are transformed into logical and physical queries to get data from the physical database and convert it back into easy to understandable reporting formats. I will definitely be also assisting you towards the setting up of the entire application. There are several components involved in this part. I will be assisting you in downloading and configuring them in your laptop since from day one itself. And I will, of course, also assist you with documentations and references for making use of while we are going through this course. I will also be able to guide you on how you can add what you have learned from this training as part of your skill set in your resume. This entire experience will definitely help you upgrade yourself in terms of the BI technologies that you know, and it will help you gain an insight into how Oracle Business Intelligence OBIEE tool can be used to extensively to create interesting reports that will help not only us as developers, but also for users or managers or typical organizations out there to leverage the use of the application and create user-friendly and interesting reports for themselves that will ultimately help them achieve their goal of better decision making and analytics. So that's all from my side. For any questions that you might have, please feel free to contact, and I'll be happy to help. So that's all from my side. I look forward to getting started with OBIEE 12c training. Thank you.